At the Samara Academic Opera and Ballet House, we have a brass band, a symphonic orchestra, and they are giving us a rendition of Gonna Fly Now, the iconic theme from the Rocky franchise, and making his way to the ring, accompanied by that inspirational anthem, is Adilet KURMETOV, 30 years of age, from Kazakhstan, no stranger to IBA events, having fought in the Kunlun Fight Cup in China a year ago. He makes his way over to his corner.
Его соперник из России, Pavel FEDOROV.
His opponent is also a familiar figure on IBA professional stages, Pavel FEDOROV. 6-fight record overall on the IBA.PRO stage, but he too fought on the Kunlun Fight World Cup, where his opponent featured as well back in November of last year. That hasn't appeared on his IBA.PRO stage record, but again, it's an event that I commentated on, so I know that he was there. Got the biggest win of his IBA.PRO career when he outpointed the 3-time world champion, 2-time Olympic silver medalist Sofiane Oumahar of France in an incredibly competitive affair. Here he is looking to bounce back to winning ways. More on that as we go through the bout.
Представляю соперников и первым бойца слева от меня в черном углу. Ему 30 лет, рост 172 сантиметра, вес 61,1 килограмма. Трехкратный чемпион Казахстана среди любителей. Финалист чемпионата Азии с профессиональным рекордом 4 боя. Во всех одержанные победы, 2 из них нокаутом. Из Усть-Каменогорска, Казахстан, Adilet KURMETOV. Его сопернику в золотом углу 28 лет. Его рост 180 сантиметров, вес 61 килограмм и 200 граммов. Мастер спорта международного класса. Финалист и бронзовый призер чемпионатов России. Чемпион Сербии, не знающий поражений, с рекордом 3 боя, 3 победы. Представляющий Иваново, Россия, по прозвищу Цыганский принц, Pavel FEDOROV.
So Denis Lebedev in attendance, signing some gloves for fans and well-wishers. Former world champion in the professional ranks. And Mr. Sergei Zhurkin brings both men together for the final instructions. So a final look at the tail of the tape between these two talented individuals in a contest made at the 61.2 kilogram lightweight division. That's 135 pounds in old money, and we are underway. What a contest we have in store here. This an IBA.PRO contest, so won't necessarily go on the records of both boxers in the event that they don't want them to. The taller boxer, wearing white trunks trimmed with gold, is Pavel FEDOROV. Born in Russia, boxed most recently on the international 3-round format stage for Serbia. Man who's just slung in a good left hook to the body, wearing black trunks trimmed with gold, is Adilet KURMETOV. Multiple national champion in the 3-round format for Kazakhstan. Fedorov competed in the 2021 World Championships for Serbia. That was in Belgrade. Silver medalist in the Russian National Championships in the 3-round format. Moved to Serbia and promptly won the Serbian National Championships a year later in 2020. After that run to the bronze medal in the Russian National Championships in 2019 at 64 kilograms light welterweight. No, a very familiar figure on the IBA.PRO stage. But let me tell you that Adilet KURMETOV, who's unbeaten in the professional ranks with a record of 5-0, and was in the ring as recently as 4 days ago, forcing a second-round retirement over his opponent in Kazakhstan. And after being out of the ring since his outing on the Kunlun Fight Cup in China in November of last year, He has been busy as though he's making up for lost time. This is his third fight in 18 days. So old timers from the boxing ring, no doubt, looking down approvingly from fight heaven, because that is the type of frequency that they would approve of. Good two-shot salvo to the body from Kurmetov. When you consider that Harry Greb went 45-0, the Pittsburgh windmill in 1919 alone. Jack Marks fought 75 times in 1911. Not quite sure that Kurmetov will be able to continue this type of clip, but third fight in 18 days after a lengthy break from the boxing ring, because the fight that I mentioned at the Kunlun Fight Cup in China was against the 2024 Olympic champion Erislandy Alvarez. And my goodness, he showed so much toughness and determination and skill as he slings in that left hook to the body there in a contest where he was sent to the floor in round 3 by a right cross. But he answered everything that Erislandy Alvarez slung at him. Here, Pavel Fedorov seeking to get back to winning ways after being stopped in the second round of his last outing on the IBA.PRO stage in March. Here's the first round in the book to get this second portion of IBA.PRO 12 underway here at this salubrious venue, the Samara Academic Ballet and Opera House. Terrific start by Pavel Fedorov. Kurmetov, as is his wont, will always seek to answer. He's often a smaller boxer in terms of stature, not just height, but physically you see he appears to be a slighter figure than Fedorov as well. But he is incredibly competitive and game. If you hit him once, he'll seek to hit you twice, and so on and so on. So we move into the second round then. Pavel Fedorov on that same night at the Kunlun Fight Cup, which was an extravaganza of combat featuring kickboxing and other martial arts, as well as the 3-round stars from IBA boxing in professional contests. While he faced off against Sofian Umahar and prevailed via decision. But in his last outing on the IBA.PRO stage in March of this year, he was knocked out in the second round of a contest scheduled for 8, when his opponent, Georgi Cheloksayev, walked him onto a roundhouse right that dropped him, and he was in no condition to continue. So it's been a lengthy absence from the ring for him, but you can see that his skills remain intact. When a boxer's coming off effectively a single shot KO defeat like that, can sometimes be a few doubts in the mind. How will they react when they get tagged again? How will they feel being back under the ring lights after a comparatively lengthy absence? But Fedorov acquitting himself very well indeed through the first half of this second round, and indeed the first round that saw him start really brightly. Wonderful sharp shooter is Fedorov. 3-shot combination ended with the left jab. And just looking to blind his opponent with that lead left is Kurmetov. Beautiful work to the body, ending with a left uppercut to the head from Fedorov. There he's looking for the same shot once again. It was when he was looking to evade a set-up left hand from Cheloksayev that he moved over to his right and walked. But he moved over and moved right into the roundhouse right of his opponent, and that spun him around and sent him to the floor. And he was in no condition to continue to compete. There's a right-hand success for Kurmetov. 3 of his 5 victories in the pro ranks in his perfect record have come inside the distance. Not necessarily a big single shot hitter, but he's a consistent puncher at his best. Beautiful left hand once again from Fedorov, and now growing in confidence and ending the round out of a low-held guard, whipping out a three-shot combination, double jab right hand on the sound of the bell. Some of the action from round number 2. Kurmetov again, the shorter boxer in there tonight, so Fedorov using his straight shots effectively, turning uppercuts underneath as well, but one thing that Kurmetov at his best will bring is a consistency of presence and pressure, knocking on the door of the fast-fisted sharpshooter that is Pavel Fedorov, and sometimes that can just play a few tricks on the mind of a boxer who is in the ascendancy. So we move into the third round then. This contest scheduled for 6. It's an IBA.PRO affair, so won't necessarily appear on the professional ledgers of these two boxers who are undefeated in the professional ranks. Pavel Fedorov made his debut back in July of 2020. Has ran off 3 wins without defeat. But since July of 2023, he's competed as a pro without the vest exclusively on IBA.PRO stages. Monte Carlo, Kazakhstan, various countries in Russia, including Sepukov and the capital Moscow, where he suffered that setback. Here he is in Samara at the Academic Opera and Ballet House. And for all his experiences, as mentioned, I commentated on him from ringside at what was then the Stark Arena. It's since been redubbed the Belgrade Arena in his World Championship appearance. But I would bet he's not competed anywhere as salubrious as this. Wonderful melding of the arts, the noble art and the fine arts of ballet and opera taking place in the saloons of this magnificent venue here tonight. Nice right hand lead and then spinning off the line from Fedorov, changing direction effectively, looking to bob and weave his way forwards. It's Kurmetov, but doing an outstanding job of maintaining the movement both left and right. Is Fedorov, and I think there was just a little subtle glance over his shoulder as if to say to Kurmetov, you're going to have to be more accurate than that if you hope to tag me, because he's proving to be a really dynamic figure tonight on his return to the ring since his inside the distance defeat in March. Kurmetov with a brief pocket of success, but answering back immediately and having a more sustained burst of success is Fedorov. Left hook to the body ended that exchange from Kurmetov. Both men in search of backhands. Good left hook to the body from Kurmetov. Oh, that's a wonderful right hand lead. He beats his man to the punch. It was a counter, having drawn the lead from Fedorov, and furled a straight right which checked the chin of Fedorov. And I mentioned that suffering a single shot KO defeat can sometimes place some demons into the mind of the boxer returning to the ring. And if there are any ghosts, well, perhaps they've been exorcised by coming through that chin check of a right cross from Adilet KURMETOV. Timed his shot beautifully, landed on the chin of Fedorov, but he took it well, kept his shape, and continued to compete. Some of the action from that round of boxing. KURMETOV finding a home for his overhand right. Fedorov was the busier boxer, not often putting full purchase onto his shots, but touching him consistently. Look at that for a flurry of unanswered punches. Kurmetov, as is his wont in that third round, was competitive, did answer back, but I'm not sure he did enough to win the round. As we go into the second half of this lightweight contest scheduled for 6. Each man making the 61.2 kilogram or 135 pound limit. Fedorov bang on. Adilet Kurmetov 61.1 kilograms. But again, when you look at the statures of the men, and this was precisely the case when he boxed against the Olympic champ Erislandy Alvarez from Cuba, he just gives the impression that he's maybe a weight division smaller than his opponent. But you simply cannot say that about his intangibles of competitiveness and tolerance to pain, and his willingness to fight through difficult moments. Trying to use his footwork to cut off the ring. There you see him trying that sneaky right hand counter over the top once again. Fedorov is back skimming the ropes before getting back to the space of the outer edges of center ring. Oh, there's another booming overhand right from Kurmetov. Put his man on the ropes, brought him square to make it a full-size target. And he was reaching over the top with that single right hand. But again, Fedorov taking it well. So he's passing the chin check. And in the same moment, he's ticking those boxes and erasing any doubt that may have been lingering in the recesses of his mind after being stopped by Georgi Cheloksayev back in March. Because sometimes, of course, professional boxing history tells us that once a fighter has been iced, they are seldom the same thereafter. Can be a physical thing, of course. Oftentimes it's a psychological thing. But as is always the case, there have been exceptions to that rule. When Roberto Duran was put face first on the floor in his contest against Thomas Hitman Hearns, he returned to world title glory once again and pushed the late great Marvin Hagler all 15 rounds. Beautiful right hand from Fedorov, but then answering back with a flurry of his own is Kurmetov. Manny Pacquiao was put face first on the floor by Juan Manuel Marquez, returned to winning ways, seemingly showing no ill effects from that devastating one-punch KO loss in the final bout of his 4-round series against Juan Manuel Marquez. So there's the 10-second clap, our closing stages of round number 4, and it's been another competitive round. And on the 10-second clapper, picking up the punch output is Pavel Fedorov to make it a strong conclusion. Punches without reply to conclude this stanza from Fedorov. Adilet Kurmetov landing some effective singles and clusters of his own. Some of the action from round number 4. Fedorov working that lead left hand beautifully, showing good variety on it. How about that for a two-piece combination? Left jab, right cross, straight down the middle. Kurmetov still in there competing. But I happen to think that he's losing the contest with 6 minutes of boxing scheduled to remain. So into round number 5 we go. Pavel Fedorov immediately out onto the front foot once again, snapping out a trip hammer of a lead left hand. Introduced as being from Russia tonight. Of course, he was born in Russia, in Kokhma. But as mentioned, in recent times has been billed out of Belgrade, and that's where he's been residing, because he's just changing angles with a little shuffle in front of his man. Kurmetov just pressing leather at the moment. There he put more purchase onto that overhand right, but it was partially defended by the gloves of Fedorov, who scores with the left hook, which came behind a right uppercut, which was just off the mark. Half cover guard being adopted by Fedorov. Cross arm defense seeking to protect the torso, the chin tucked down on the chest and behind the shoulders. Beautiful left jab to the body, pushing off the back foot to land with it from Fedorov. Again, Kurmetov is no doubting the man's quality and his ability to put punches together, but I think he's just waiting too long here. Again, being put on the end of punches without reply. Did employ good head movement to make the final shot miss. There's a sneaky right hand again, and he's used that sneak approach to good effect. There he scores with an overhand right once more. But I simply don't think there has been enough consistent, effective offense for Kurmetov for him to be ahead in this contest with a round and a half remaining. So presenting the mirage of an open target by dropping his hands and seeking to slip and slide away from the punches. Beautiful 6-punch combination ended with a double left hand, the final shot of which was an uppercut turned in between the high HUD gloves of Kurmetov. He's just got to be busier here as he reaches for a single right cross to the body. There's the sneaky right hand over the top once again from Kurmetov, and he has used that tactic repeatedly to good success throughout this contest. Now getting on the front foot, bustling after his man, burst of punches down to the body, countering immediately is Fedorov. You mentioned the fact that it's been an incredibly busy period of bouts for Kurmetov. So ring rust, no danger of being shrouded by that, but look at that 3-punch combination it brings, and a round of applause from this knowledgeable crowd as Fedorov making like Vasyl Lomachenko and indeed Erislandy Alvarez by seeking to play matador, dropping his hands, walking back to his corner and saying to his opponent, bring it to me and I'll show you how effective my reflexes and defenses are. Not falling into that trap, Kurmetov wasn't interested, but I think he's conceded another round. Fedorov flowing beautifully on this, his return to action after being stopped in the second round back in March in Moscow. Take a look at some of the action. Here's the sneaky right hand over the top once again. On at least 5 occasions, Kurmetov has used that tactic. But there an example of the punch picking in combination fashion from Fedorov. Kurmetov with his best burst of the entire round, but looking to have the final word with more quality sharpshooting was Fedorov.
Samara, поддержите боксера.
So we move into the 6th and final round then. And the boxers up on the elevated stage of the Samara Academic Opera and Ballet House, producing a wonderfully skillful affair for the fans in attendance here. So Kurmetov, for what it's worth, I feel he's training. I get the impression that he must feel that way too, because he's come out with far more urgency to begin this final round. But now Fedorov can enter almost bout management mode. Stay out of harm's way, don't run onto a stray elbow or a recklessly thrown head. Don't pick up any injuries. Of course, you don't want to invoke the ire of the referee, Mr. Sergei Zhurkin, and pick up an infraction for not engaging. But the onus is all on Adilet KURMETOV from Kazakhstan, the man in the black trunks trimmed with gold, to close the distance and try and get his man out of there inside the distance, because he must be trailing on the scorecards with 5 rounds in the book. Good right hand to the body from KURMETOV, but Fedorov doing a good job keeping the movement going laterally, both left and right. Roundhouse right to the ribcage from KURMETOV. Single right hand lead from Fedorov was countered by a 2-shot salvo from the man from Kazakhstan. Boxers just trading misses before Fedorov looking to turn a right uppercut underneath to catch the advancing Kurmetov. So again, just trying to draw that lead that he can counter Kurmetov, but with a minute remaining, the clock is very much his foe. Because with every elapsing second, Fedorov is edging closer towards the winning post. What a two-shot combination. Left hook, right uppercut. And the right uppercut fairly lifted Adilet Kurmetov off his feet. But he kept his boxing stance beneath him upon coming back down to earth. And it's just testament to this man's incredible toughness. Chin check once again as his head was put on a swivel by that rapid fire left hook. And there's no change in the man's expression. So composed under fire. But I think it's going to be another contest where he's acquitted himself incredibly well on the IBA stage. But it's not going to be enough to have his hand raised as the victor. So there's the 10-second clapper, and Fedorov, upon the sound of the clapper, is picking up his punch output once again, peppering his man with a jab, making him miss them, making him pay to complete the fistic equation. As the bell sound to conclude the contest, and Pavel Fedorov surely back in the win column here after being defeated for the first time on the IBA.PRO stage last time out. Well, he passed the psychological check because Kurmetov did pose some questions from the second round on, launching sneaky backhands that were thrown in with bad intentions and plenty of accuracy. But he came through those moments. Take a look at the right uppercuts underneath, and there was the right uppercut that lifted the man off his feet. Left hook, right uppercut, and his feet left the canvas, momentarily launched into orbit here. But again, no visible signs of distress or discomfort betrayed by Adilet Kurmetov. One well-conditioned, prideful and tough competitive boxer, but I don't think he's going to be declared the victor here tonight, because that man in the white corner, Pavel Fedorov, found his range, distance and timing pretty quickly. And I think he's back in the win column, just awaiting official confirmation. After 6 rounds of boxing on the IBA.PRO stage here in Samara.
Дамы и господа, в этом ярком поединке двух больших мастеров своего дела. Единогласным решением судей победу по очкам одержал Павел «Цыганский принц» Федоров!
So Pavel Fedorov all smiles at having been declared a unanimous point decision victor over the incredibly tough, well-conditioned Adilet Kurmetov of Kazakhstan. That nightmare start to the calendar year behind him, and has returned to winning ways here on the IBA.PRO stage. He and his team absolutely delighted. Adilet Kurmetov, as ever, has given a fantastic account of himself, but not busy enough to hope to be declared as the victor here tonight. And wonderful to see that sportsmanship between he and Pavel Fedorov as we enjoy some of the highlights from that 6-round lightweight contest designated as an IBA.PRO bout. Well, right from the opening bell, Pavel Fedorov was accurate with his shot selection. Kurmetov was able to land some really eye-catching right crosses over the top. But that is how Fedorov went about his work from practically the opening bell to last. Punches coming in combination fashion, doubling up shots from particularly the left hand, and there was the right uppercut that lifted his opponent off his feet in the final round. Wonderful shot selection, and came through being buzzed by several single right crosses over the top that were snuck in by Adilet Kurmetov. And near the moment of confirmation, unconfined joy etched all over the face Pavel FEDOROV, who's a winner once again.